What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of 4 Dummies, and tonight I am joined with the other 3 dummies. I have Mrs. Skullface.
Hello.
I have Mr. Just One.
Yo, what's happening?
And I have Mr. Robert Detoff.
Hello.
And I think this month we're going to be doing back-to-back collection critiques, but that may change, and we're subject to change, and you just have to deal with it. But the one thing that you will also have to deal with is if you want the uncut episode of this, you'll have to subscribe to Patreon, where you can get the hour-long version of this where we talk about the machine in detail. Yeah. But until then...
This one's interesting.
It's pretty interesting. But until then, we're going to just concentrate on collections, which is a machine in and of itself. So we're going to start tonight with Levi, who I believe I know also, and I'm going to send it. And but the problem, once again, is furniture. Furniture, and the second problem is posing. Everybody, with the exception of Triptychon, came off the assembly line.
Well, in all fairness, that is Triptychon's standard pose on the shelf if you're going to keep his tail on.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that Triptychon is just like all these robots that are on this shelf are just like, God, we don't want to talk to this guy. And he's just like, hey, wait a minute, let me tell you about this.
But like all of these characters are just arms down, head forward, legs down. It's like, look, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people have already sent in submissions, right? This submission is from April 17th, 2021 as a point of reference. If you have furniture that's like this, don't send it. Don't send it. You're not ready. You're not ready because you haven't understood the basics or the fundamentals of all the things we've been talking about prior to this point. And my friend Levi has heard enough episodes before April 2021 to not send this with confidence, but he still did. Let me tell you the one shelf that I find acceptable. And I'm talking acceptable with a lowercase a. It's Omega Supreme with the bots around him. None of the bots are posed. Omega's not posed. It is completely lifeless. The one thing it does is it doesn't constrict Omega like it does constrict Fortress Maximus down there. It doesn't constrict him. He's free. It shows some scale, which I think is important. And then outside of that, it's worthless.
It really is. So yeah, it's not about your collection by any means. It is just about your furniture. It's not great for what you're trying to display.
Exactly. This is a chug.
And it makes me nervous.
This is a chug. This is a chug collection, right? But the issue isn't with the pieces he's bought. That's the thing. Is like it's not about Masterpiece or Legends or third party or official or whatever. Like you have a nice collection that has represented all the bots of the franchise that you love. They just look like the way that you have them.
And the one thing you do have going for you is that these shelves are so multi-tiered that you could do some interesting stuff with the bigger bots reaching into these little smaller shelves. Like the guy that made his own custom shelves, I think it was like last episode or last critique or the critique before that. That guy really did a lot of things with like different planes, you know, and like different levels. That could be done here to some extent.
I was going to say, I think obviously it's not an ideal piece of furniture, but I don't think it's the worst piece of furniture. I get just saying he's nervous about it because things could just fall wherever. But
they're all going to knock over.
But I also think you could probably like paint that wall not that light antique white or whatever color it is,
builder beige,
and give it almost its own background because it's kind of cool. Like it's kind of a cool shape. But everybody needs to be posed, and that we need less people on the shelf, less robots on the shelves, and we need risers and we need poses and but I personally don't think he's screwed with his thing. I don't really love this other one sitting on top of a dresser.
So that's
a little bit weird.
Well, so let's talk about that one. That's the last picture. And so if we look at the center picture, right, which is the Justice League, Superman is posed. And guess what? He stands out. Mm-hmm. If you look below, Falcon is posed. He stands out. Wolverine is posed. He stands out. But if you look around these shelves, not a lot of them are posed. Look in the upper left-hand corner. It's the Justice League. Superman is posed. Hawkman is posed. Shazam is posed. And they're the ones that stand out. If you look over on the right side in the middle shelf, the Croc is the only one that's posed. The Croc is also the only one that stands out. You have to pose these figures.
I would even go one step further to say you don't even have to pose all of them. Like going back to that Superman shelf that's floating.
Yeah.
If you pose just like the Flash and some of these, like the Alfred, just a few of them, you could have a bunch of them just standing there and some of them posed, and it would look interesting enough.
Agreed.
Like, so if you're like, hey, look, I don't want to pose them all, you don't have to. Put one that's centered and then pose a few of them kind of scattered throughout, and it'll look fine.
I agree. The problem with the Justice League one is all that vertical space that's unused.
Yeah.
If you could get some of those figures up on risers and occupy that spot, you'd be in a better spot. But it's the same. It's the same for the Transformers as well. If you look at the initial picture, take the bottom shelf underneath Fort Max, right? There's a whole row of characters in the back there that if you just put the back 3 on risers, pose all of them, they're all gonna, that whole shelf is gonna look more interesting.
I may even go one further and say, I think you may be able to mount these shelves. Like, you'd have to be creative, but if you lifted these shelves up, you don't have to have anything underneath them, and just figured out a way to mount them to the wall, but higher up, they would look way better.
He even has a whole shelf of
interesting
miscellaneous figures that like are all not posed and look goofy.
And in front of the TV, like, what's going on here? Is this just where you like throw stuff?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to, and we kind of cracked on, I mean, hit on it last time too. It's like everybody can buy toys and put it on a shelf. You have to start thinking about the space, not even just the shelving. But Laura had said painting the walls is going to do this space
justice,
a huge favor.
Yeah,
right.
Let's move on to the next one. This is Ben. So this next guy is definitely taking advantage of the vertical space. Like, he's got stuff on risers. This is an interesting one. Let me tell you what my initial reaction is. Get rid of the backdrops. Get rid of the backdrops.
Or make them fill out the whole thing.
Yeah, they have
even if they fill out the whole thing, I think because they're so simple and like kind of monotone. So like, all right, so here's a perfect example, right? Like, you take a look at this Decepticon shelf. You got Megatron in the middle. You got the reflector, sound wave, you know what I mean? All that stuff, right? You have Cybertron in the background with a purple sky. But most of these bots are shades of purple and dark hues.
Right.
So they blend in with the background. They don't stand out from the background. And if you had just the white background, all of these characters would pop more.
And the fact that, like, I know they're supposed to create depth and dimension by how they look, but it makes the shelf look more shallow. For some reason, like, the backgrounds just make it look more flat and don't really add any depth.
That's because they're also narrower than the actual.
Yeah, I think
it could just be too, like, the lighting too, and like the way that the photo's taken. But
I like his choice in thumbtacks.
This space is interesting to me because I think it's just like, I think you look like a dude. Yeah, you did kind of the standard thing. You're like, I bought all these shelves, I put them on the shelves, I put all this stuff in there, and this is cool. But it doesn't have it doesn't. There's nothing. There's no excitement there. You have the makings for something exciting, and you kind of started it with these magic cards that are blown up. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting space.
Yeah,
he has these magic cards.
It's kind of fallen short.
Yeah, but they obviously mean something to him. They're big, they're blown up, they're on the wall. He's got a little kind of like art space in front of it where he can work on something. Like that to me is the most interesting space in here. The rest of it kind of seems like he's going through the motions, and it's not all wrong, but it's not right. And it seems it comes across messy. And the collection itself isn't messy. It's all the background stuff. I really feel that. I feel like if he took that off the background, who gives a if it's the Ark? Who cares? Who cares? Do you know what I mean? It's still Optimus Prime. It's still Optimus Prime and his lieutenants and his soldiers and everything else. It's still all those things that mean something to you. It just doesn't have this cartoon background that's the same color as a large majority of the bots standing in front of it that lose it. So you spent $10 on this background that now makes you lose $100 in bots in front of it.
Yeah, you do.
What are your thoughts on the Unicron show with the Millennium Falcon? I mean, I feel like, just because you found something to fit Unicron and your Millennium Falcon doesn't mean it works at all.
So, like, I think that is poorly based because it has the other stand in front of it. Like, it doesn't have its own space. It, like, shares it.
That should go up to the very top.
Yeah. It shares it with this other thing in front of it that has, like, the Tatooine Lego stuff and all that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the corners of the furniture don't meet properly. I think that's the bigger issue there. I actually think that's not a bad thing because he bought this. This is a very typical like storage unit shelf, but he went and took the extra time to paint it like and make it worthwhile. Like I dig that.
Oh my god!
It just doesn't own the space properly because there's other thing in front of it.
So that Unicron actually looks good in that space.
Yeah,
it fits
I agree.
Fine.
I agree.
I actually think it's kind of cool that this is like obviously a workshop. It's like it's a workshop with this stuff on display, and I think that's cool because that means the space is being used and like And I think that on the Billies, I guess they're Billies. I agree. I think that the backgrounds are distracting. Some because they're just too small, and others, because the colors are just.
I agree. Emphasis here is unfortunately, once again, it's on the quantity, but no one gives a about how many figures you have. Everybody likes to come into a space that feels right. The vibe. It's the vibe. The vibe is...
This is new.
I want to challenge you. I challenge you to take out these backdrops. The ones that fill all the spaces, like the ones with the Constructicons and Blitzwing, take that out. The ones that don't fill all the spaces, like underneath with the Protectobots and Aerobots, take that out. Take it out. It's messy. It makes it look more cluttered than it actually is.
Yeah, because I think a lot of them are actually posed and risers, or at least somehow he's getting different size. Yeah, there's risers in there. So like I said, I think that it's too much as well. I can kind of understand the workshop vibe, not like a museum-ish vibe.
No.
Right.
But so, it should still feel put together. It shouldn't feel completely haphazard. It should. So
I don't think it feels haphazard. I feel like the backdrops make it feel busy, and not, but not haphazard is not the word I would use.
It's the clutter that's taking away from the space.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this guy has 10 chairs in there.
Well, that's what I wondered, if he was like playing like
Magic.
If they were playing Magic with his friends and stuff, because it looked like, maybe so. And if that's the case, that's cool too. But like, that's even more so to create like this vibe, as you have everybody in there playing, this game, and you want everything around you to really just enhance that moment.
Agreed.
I think the first step is removing the backgrounds as well, and just seeing what that does for the space. It might just feel like a breath of fresh air.
I agree. Let's move on to the next one. So this is from Dreadhawk, and I got to be honest with you guys, I like it. So now this is a guy with backdrops, but things are spread out. It could use a bit more posing, but things are spread out. It looks even. It looks purposeful. It looks organized. It's lit. I don't have a whole lot negative to say about this.
So there's still some that are really crowded for me, I think. I mean, it's beautiful. The lighting is beautiful. The backdrops are beautiful, but I think we still see some things get lost in them, just like...
But I think it still works.
But I hear what Laura said. You're getting to that point where it's like you've got too much stuff now on some of these shelves.
Yeah, like...
Or for all the work that you did, it's like if you're going to put the backgrounds in there like this, you're creating like a mini diorama. You're creating a mini world. And you're not going to have it like a concert where everybody's just standing there like nuts to butts, as they say.
The worst shelf, I think, is the one on the first picture, the bottom one.
Yeah,
that just seems like a throwaway show, but I mean, I agree. I love the perspective, the evoke, with the Motormaster, Bruticus, Instructor, Devastator.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like he has a mix of like Chug, Legends, Masterpiece, etc., and I think it really is a decent salute to all three scales. Right. I really do. Like I think if he chose one scale, he could be able to spread it out and make it look much more meaningful. But I think given the fact that he's adopting all three scales to his display, we've never seen anybody take on all three scales and make it look this good.
Right.
Yeah.
And he hung his slider from the top of the shelf, so I love that. Good job.
I do think that I think you're getting to this point where like, I think you started out with a good idea and how to plan, and you're going too far.
I think one thing though, like his Unicron displays, I like them both, the Cell and the Hasbro one, but I just feel like, again, you're trying to cram too much. And with all that vertical space, is there something he could do to get the Quintessons
up higher,
maybe elevated, and as well as the Decepticons, use the vertical space left and right,
take advantage,
centered,
because he has the space. Take advantage of it,
because Unicron becomes your menacing background. And it looks like he's a shark in the water coming at all of them.
I'll say that the thing that looks to me the most out of place is his non-G1 stuff, like the last picture where it's like this smorgasbord of Star Wars, Marvel, Beast Wars, 3.0 stuff. Like, aside from the X-Men shelf, which I do think looks great, the rest of it is in really rough shape.
It's because there's no backgrounds. The color in the background, like you've created a scene and everything.
And he's set a precedent. He set a precedent.
Yeah. Especially for that Star Wars shelf would look dope. Just put something in the back. Even the Joe shelf, and
even that. All these if you look down at the bottom, that blanket that's covering boxes,
right? Which is fine. I don't think it's horrible.
I think that's horrible.
You'd rather see the boxes?
No, I'd rather see empty space or books or something.
Right, but I think if you have to put the boxes somewhere, right, I don't think it's terrible.
No, I think that's terrible.
I think you could tuck it nicer. You could iron it and then tuck it so that it's,
that's
you know
fair.
what I mean? Like,
That's
and
fair.
I think it would look more finished.
That's fair. That's fair. But I gotta salute this dude, man. Like he's done it. He said, "Look, I'm gonna have a G1 representation of all of it," and he's done it in a pretty meaningful way. I think the Hasbro Unicron shelf is the superior shelf.
I like the Cell one. You think the Hasbro one's better?
Yeah, look at it. Like the Unicron occupies most of the vertical space. You've got the main core bots from the movie in the middle. You got the villains on the left. You got the Quintessons on the right. It's perfect.
I think they're not, but it doesn't
They
look
still
as
need
cool
to
to me
come
as
up.
the reason why I like the Cell one better is it's more broken up, and so it looks more interesting. With the exception of the sweeps,
I'll tell you what irritates me is if you look at the Unicron Hasbro one, right? I think that looks great. But then you scroll down to just the picture underneath it, and everybody's in the same pose.
Yeah, he definitely needs a little posing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, create some new life there. That's a new space. Do something different with it. You don't have to have Hot Rod holding the Matrix in both. Do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
agree.
this guy's got it. Like I salute this dude. I think that he's like, even the criticisms that we have, the Transformer collection is dope. I think it works. I think that the non-Transformer stuff or that smorgasbord shelf that he has, that needs to be reworked top to bottom. But aside from the X-Men shelf that I do think looks pretty good. But the rest of it I think needs to be reworked. I think the Transformer collection is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I give him a salute. I think this guy I think this guy's got a working collection. I really do. Let's go to our last one, which is 1991 Camaro.
Oh yeah. Man.
A lot of classic DC stuff on our introduction. It's busy.
I like the wall.
Man, there's a lot of stuff in here to dissect. Some stuff is awesome.
He has a bat suit.
The gloves are on the floor by the feet.
But I'm on board. Salute.
I thought he had finger feet for a second.
Salute to the bat suit.
I was like, Batman's boots have toes?
Unfortunately, I think it's a Batman Forever suit.
He has nipples?
No, look at the side of his ears.
One or one that he made.
But then on the other side is all Keaton stuff. Like this dude has a pretty impressive little Batman setup. He's got the cow from '89. Oh, I'm loving
Got an Indiana Jones hat.
How many times when people sit on this couch do they hit their head against this TIE Fighter shelf?
And they just make the
I'm
sound.
sure that happens every time. It's not bad. Like, man, this guy's got some cool stuff. The spaces, it's a difficult space to work with if you start looking at like it's narrow in spots, and then, but even like, what's this section here with is that the Joes and like some of the?
It's an interesting space.
Yeah,
It's an interesting space.
With the vehicle.
Until you get to the Transformers. And then it's
Yeah,
like,
so the
oh,
Transformers are unfortunately once again the weakest part.
Man.
He's got these square shelves. They're posed, but they're crowded. They're lost. They just seem like a jumble of colors. But if you look at go to the next page and you see like his G.I. Joe jets and they're posed in different positions. He's got the artwork in the back, like along with the Cobra vehicles. He's got the Blackbird and the A10, and then above that he has the A10 artwork, and then below that he's got more vehicles, and then he's got books and everything like that. Looks great.
There's a lot of cool spaces.
Dude, I wish.
And there's hanging
go ahead,
ships. Hanging ships. So,
Yeah.
You know.
I wish we could see some of these other shelves like near this Joe collection.
So I got to give this dude a super salute. I'm going to give him one of these. He has a 3 3/4 Joe collection that looks meaningful.
Yeah, it's in the wall. It's set in. Like, that's cool. And even this thing in front of it with like this set with the diorama, it's awesome.
Yep.
That's my favorite part of this.
It's amazing.
Doesn't that remind you of your childhood? That's awesome.
It looks great.
Yeah,
And he has complete disrespect for his friend.
Yeah, the Transformers look like
hard, man. They're hard. The Transformers are hard.
They display like shit.
Dude, look at
I don't think it's that he doesn't care.
Look at the
No,
Storm
he
Shadow
cares
Dojo.
about them. He just doesn't know how to display them, and I don't fault him for it. They're hard.
He's tried to like stagger them, and
He's even got like the Unicron head and everything. Like he's trying to make something out of him. He just doesn't know how to make it work, and I feel for him.
I like this Storm Shadow diorama. Did you see that? Yeah.
I love it all. Like I guess you're talking about the Storm Shadow and the dojo and stuff.
Yeah.
But it looks,
that's
that
cool.
looks amazing. If you look up, he's got the mass car in there. That looks amazing. Like it all looks great. The only thing that doesn't look great is his Transformers.
Look, it's your you've got glorified utility shelves. Christmas lights on them. Why would you go through all this trouble with all this gorgeous furniture?
Yeah,
for
like
everything else. Is your issue light that you can't see all the Transformers?
Even with the Star Wars stuff in the back, he has like a little couch where you can sit and kind of enjoy it. Like I dig that.
Right.
Then he's got the G.I. Joe stuff. All that looks great. And then he's got the Transformers stuff that's just stuff.
But to be fair, where the Batman stuff is next to the suit, those shelves that he's got all the DC stuff on, they're not great either. It's just that he's done a better job at displaying the stuff. Like there were shelves in the Transformer shelves,
Agreed.
but it just the stuff's displayed better.
Part of the problem with the utility shelves is like your eye is given no place to stop, right? So like it just all
rest.
runs together. Whereas if you had like solid walls between them, it might not be so overwhelming.
If you give some sort of map for your eye to follow. Like your eyes are stupid. So you have to lay out directions for your eyes to follow. If your eye has something to follow and sort of learn its way through a train of thought, it will adjust and make sense of it all. But what a lot of this stuff, it just ends up looking like 100% monotony. Monotony mixed with a ton of color and a ton of things.
I need the machine.
Splitting hairs and then pulling straws. Maybe, would you be able to pull up a picture of a toothbrush in some spaghetti?
Yes, definitely.